Thank you all for coming. Wow, that music faded so fast. Thank you. All right, welcome. Good evening, everybody. Oh, come on. We can do better. It's Monday night, I get it, but you can do better than that. It's Houston. Good evening. All right, here we go. Thank you. I am Paul Cherukuri, Rice University's Vice President for Innovation and Chief Innovation Officer, and I'm a proud Rice Owl. It's great to see so many of the owls flocking together here in the Ion. That's the last dad joke I make. But I'm grateful as well to see so many faces from the Houston innovation community here in the audience tonight. Thank you all for being here. I know it's wonderful to see such a strong turnout here in the Ion for this wonderful event. It is my privilege to welcome you to the Ion, and I would love to see if you can just raise your hand. Is this the first time you're in the Ion? All right, good. So we have a lot of repeat folks, which is great. This place is designed to fuel collaboration and drive innovation by bringing people together, such as yourselves, making it a perfect setting for tonight's important discussion on innovation and the future of U.S. research universities. I'm humbled to share the stage briefly here with two of the nation's most distinguished leaders in higher education, whom I will introduce momentarily, but they are, of course, as you know, our Rice University President, Reginald DesRoches, and the President of Arizona State University, Michael Crow. And Reggie and Michael, thank you both for joining us here tonight. Now, just to kick us off, tonight marks a special occasion for us. It is the first ION event hosted or co-hosted by Rice Innovation and the Baker Institute for Public Policy. It is also the first time that we've held an event like this off of campus and outside of Baker. Part of this idea is that we are reaching out into the community from beyond the hedges. We love to stay within the hedges of Rice. It's a very beautiful campus if you haven't visited recently. You should know that we have come out here because we believe that Rice's position as a leader both in research and public service leadership is vital for ensuring science and innovation that serve our economy, our society, and our democracy. I couldn't be more thrilled to partner with the Baker Institute and Baker Institute Science Technology Policy Program on this critical topic. The Baker STP program is directed by Baker Fellow Kirsten Matthews and founded by one of my closest mentors and dearest colleagues, Neil Lane. And Neil is right back there. Say hi, Neil. Thank you. Please give him a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And thank you for all you do for Rice and all you've done for our nation and continue to do. Tonight's discussion cannot be more urgent. As we all know, U.S. research institutions or universities are facing enormous challenges from increasing public skepticism of the value of higher education. In addition to that, we have a changing relationship between the federal government and the America's system of higher education. Our social contract is being challenged in real time. Now, these challenges are not new, but they have intensified in recent weeks, and there's a lot of uncertainty and a new political reality. Universities must find a way to meet these challenges, and we as a society need to respond to these challenges in force together. This new landscape brings us to the foundational question for tonight. How can U.S. research universities best serve the public interest and society at large, not only in the United States, but the global community as well? How can we continue this educational mission and meet the needs of these communities that we serve? We could not ask for two better individuals to tackle these questions, and I anticipate a far-ranging discussion that will touch on these issues and many more. At the end of the discussion, there will be time for questions from the audience, so I hope that you will stay for the entirety of this session and be sure to ask your questions. They love new questions. They love to hear from you. So now I will go ahead and introduce our speakers. So briefly, there's a long list of accolades and achievements from these leaders, but I will keep it short. President Michael Crow is an educator, a knowledge enterprise architect, and higher education leader. He became Arizona State University's 16th president in 2002, so he's been president for 23 years. That by itself should get a wonderful round of applause because that is not easy to achieve. He has spearheaded its rapid and groundbreaking transformation to a major public metropolitan research university. Under his leadership, ASU has been ranked the #1 most innovative university by U.S. News and World Report for the past 10 years. That's #1 in every year for the last 10 years. It's amazing. President DesRoches, as you all, Reggie, who we all love and adore from everything he's been doing, is an engineer, resilience expert, and higher education leader. He became Rice University's 8th president in 2022, guiding its growth as a leading global institution. He has previously served as provost and dean of engineering at Rice, driving major research expansion, new academic programs, and institutional partnerships, including where you are standing now, or sitting now, in the ION. So thank you both again for being here. And I speak for all of us here tonight when I say how much we look forward to hearing both of your insights. So please join me in welcoming President DesRoches and President Crow.
Thank you, Paul. It's a pleasure to see everybody here, and those of you who are new to the ION, welcome to the ION, and please do come back. It is truly an honor to have my dear friend and colleague, President Michael Crow here, and I will take the prerogative as a host to be the one asking him the questions and to leverage his 23 years of incredible experience. I have been in this role for 3 years, and hard to imagine another 20 years, and I'll leave it at that. So let me first also congratulate you on an incredible football season and a near upset of Texas. So congratulations. It was a lot of fun. And I'll get into asking you about sports towards the end of this conversation. Sorry we couldn't have your wife here. I know she was supposed to be here also as part of this conversation, but we are honored to have you here. And when we first organized this, probably a couple months ago, we were at a very different place from where we are today in terms of higher education and what's happening around the country. But I want to start around innovation because you are known for the incredible work that you've done in innovation, in being an innovative university, innovation districts. We are sitting here in the ION district, which is really brand new, as Paul mentioned, just opened a couple years ago, and it's part of the broader Rice, or part of the broader innovation, ION Innovation District here in Houston, around 14 acres in this area. So Arizona State has been a leader in developing innovation districts, and we were talking earlier, and there are several of them that are part of your university, such as the Novus Innovation Corridor. What lessons can other research universities learn from ASU's approach to fostering public-private partnerships and driving economic development, and more broadly, building out districts like this?
I mean, the lessons I think would be that you have to be as unbelievably willing to partner as you can imagine. So we have 7 of these districts in Metro Phoenix across hundreds and hundreds of acres in 7 different communities. Some are partnerships, some are involved with the municipalities. So we have 1 in Scottsdale, we have 3 in Phoenix, 1 in Mesa. I won't go through all of them, but each one of them is a place where we've secured hundreds of millions of dollars of investment from others. We've worked with the private sector, worked with the local municipalities, worked with every organization imaginable, all with the objective of driving 2 things as the outcome. 1, driving the university and its advancement, and 2nd, driving the economic success and vitality of the community. So we've kept focused on those things. And so the #1 lesson is partner, partner, partner. The #2 lesson is patience, patience, patience. Because we're not profit seekers, we can take a very long-term view, but when we work with profit seekers as our partners, they need to take a shorter-term view. So we found ways to design unique financial instruments, ways in which we could we've secured over, approaching $2 billion of investment in the facilities that are in our districts, all from third-party partners, each one of which is a deal by itself. So partner, flexibility. I think the 3rd lesson would be you've got to find a way to make people understand that the university is something other than a bunch of egghead bean-counting professors. And so
none of them here, of course. None of them.
Well, no, what that means is you have to negotiate very vigorous and hard deals. I mean, you can't be pushed into doing something because the other side thinks you're some kind of simpleton because you're just a professor of engineering or a professor of economics or something, and so which they have as an operative assumption. And so you got to do good deals also.
So you've had many companies as part of your innovation district. What's the value proposition? What case do you make for them investing in the partnerships with Arizona State?
Well, we have companies as partners. We've had cities, municipalities have invested $600 million, $650 million into our projects with us. The value proposition is high-speed evolution of new economic activity around exciting things. And so we have a small project in downtown Mesa, Arizona, where the people of Mesa invested $75 million, and we invested $75 million into a world-class digital creativity center, which then sits as the seedling for a whole series of new digital economy outcomes, gaming, game-based outcomes, digital creativity, digital expression. And so what you have to do is you have to move to the edge of where the economy is going, where it's going to head, where it's going to end up, and then find ways to make these kinds of investments. And the partners that we find, the industrial partners, the local government partners, the government partners, whatever it happens to be at the national level, are all interested in that outcome. And so you have to stay focused on that outcome, which is an additional outcome for the university than our normal mission, which is to produce ideas and people and stuff. So we've added this other dimensionality, which is to create environments where, like this one here, like ION, which is a new place where the new economy can emerge.
Is there one specific partnership that you can point to that you're most proud of that's had significant impact on society?
I don't know that there's one, but we have we were able to build a new spec-based financed major biotech incubator in downtown Phoenix in a way in which now biotech incubation is occurring in a place where biotech incubation was considered impossible. And so what we found was that while maintaining the neighborhood also. And so we found ways to partner with others, to create opportunities, to create places where things can happen. You know, I'd say that we have another innovation district with the Mayo Clinic in North Phoenix, 250 acres, called the Discovery Oasis. And in that partnership, we just found whole new ways to be creative together, to advance new things together. You know, I think the thing that we've been able to facilitate more than any other thing is Phoenix, like Houston, the fourth and fifth largest cities in the country, and Harris County and Maricopa County are the third and fourth most populated counties in the United States. So we're like side by side with each other. What we have found is that through our projects and through the way that we've designed things, we've altered the economic trajectory of Phoenix. So TSMC is investing $80 billion in Phoenix for new semiconductors. Intel is expanding their investments. Applied Materials is expanding their investments, hundreds of millions of dollars. We've expanded a microelectronics digital economy incubator. We're now going to be the home for the new advanced materials packaging laboratory for NatCast, the big new national laboratory configuration that's coming along. That's a $3 billion investment with all kinds of things that are happening. And the reason I say this is that, you know, we've been able to use our ability to produce people, large-scale engineering school, large-scale business school, large-scale science school. We've been able to use our innovation districts. One of them is the host for two of these big projects. We've been able to use these as ways in which we could probably accelerate economic evolution in Phoenix to be now not just a place where microchips are made, but where they're designed, where they're researched, where the materials are conceived of, where the people are produced, where the networks are produced, where the uses are produced, where the systems are derived, and where the factories are built. So the first in the world comprehensive location of all things related to semiconductors. And so we couldn't have done that without these projects, without these initiatives, without these innovation districts, without the way that we run the university. So that's a huge outcome for the country and for Arizona.
How has your relationship with the city of Phoenix evolved over the years through some of these?
Well, we have 4 academic campuses and 7 innovation districts in 5 cities. And so Phoenix is a place for 2 of our academic campuses and 3 of our innovation districts. And so our relationship with them has become unbelievably constructive. I mean, we have an arrangement with them where we're working as their sidekick, as their partner on all things. I mean, we're with them as we're traveling, as the teams are traveling around the world to attract people to Phoenix or grow new businesses. We're a part of all of that. We're a part of, in a sense, we've become the city of Phoenix's university, like their university department. And so, you know, what do you need? What do you need in learning? What do you need in advanced digital education? What do you need in innovation districts evolution? What do you need in new biotech incubation. So we're creating, for instance, a new thing called ASU Health. ASU Health is building a new medical engineering school, building a new technology for public health school, building a new bio-health, Arizona Bio Observatory, building a whole bunch of things. The headquarters for this new thing, which has as a single mission the transformation of Arizona health outcomes, not the production of doctors, but the production of health outcome differentiations. We're building the headquarters of that in downtown Phoenix. We built the headquarters for the Thunderbird School of Global Management that we acquired in downtown Phoenix. And so we've become a principal driver of new initiatives that have a huge economic impact for the city of Phoenix in multiple locations, heavily concentrated in downtown Phoenix, which has been powerful to the emergence of downtown Phoenix on a new economic trajectory.
Do the faculty and members of the university feel a sense of ownership? Do they feel like it's part of their university, these innovation districts, or do they feel like it's something separate?
No, it's not separate. I mean, we have 6,000 faculty members and 35,000 support staff, so I don't know what they all think, but
Why not? You haven't asked them.
but what I do know is that they understand our mission. They understand that we're there for the people. They understand our concept of one university in many places. So for instance, we have multiple campuses, but they're not separate parts of it. They're all one thing. Any college can operate on any campus. And so we're spread out all over the place, and we operate in that kind of modality. So the faculty and the staff, even in humanities or social sciences, they understand that we're involved in the economic vitality of the people that we serve. And so we spend a lot of time messaging, a lot of time talking, a lot of time explaining about why we're doing this or why we're doing that. And we're also, we use, basically, you guys will laugh at this, but we use other people's money all the time. We're not transferring, tuition dollars to these innovation districts. We're working with partners, raising private philanthropy, building corporate relationships, working with the cities and the municipalities, gaining bonding authority from the cities and so forth. So do they see that? Do the faculty see that? Absolutely they see it, because they understand that the health and well-being and the competitiveness of the community is essential ultimately also to the success of the university.
So I want to switch and talk a little bit about online learning. You were a leader in that even before many universities were forced to get into that through COVID.
Yeah.
You were involved quite a bit of time before that. Tell us a little bit about how you started that. ASU is considered a leader in online education. Talking earlier, you have 85,000 students in residence on campus and another 100,000 or so online.
Yeah.
Tell me more about how that came about, how that's changed, how it was started, and where you see the future going.
So we did a weird thing. We kept the admission standards of the University of Michigan and University of California from 1950. And so we said if you have a B average in high school and you took the right courses in high school and you got a B in those courses, you're admitted. Well, it turns out when you admit people from a huge spectrum of, and if you don't have any money to come, we'll get you the money to come. So we said all that. So that means then that we ended up with the broadest spectrum of students that you could possibly imagine, from every high school you could imagine, every academic background, every family background, in every family income level. And so we realized almost immediately on implementing that strategy on my appointment was that we needed better ways to teach a broader spectrum of human beings. And so we began building learning technologies around 2007, 2008, 2009 to enhance our students' abilities on campus. Once we figured that out and got that under better control and we're doing a better job at that, we said, could we also educate 1, 2, or 3 people for every student we have on campus, particularly for the people that didn't finish college, didn't have a chance to go to college, dropped out for whatever reason, their mom got sick, their dad got cancer, they ran out of money, they flunked out, whatever. It doesn't make any difference. So we said, okay, well then let's launch this series of online programs. And so that's grown to 4,500 courses, 5,000 courses in 300 degree programs, now being taken by more than 100,000 students around everywhere. And so what we find is that the average ages are older. Most of those people had not finished college. We've now graduated over 100,000 graduates who then have degrees that just say Arizona State University Electrical Engineering, Arizona State University English, Arizona State University, whatever it happens to be, biology, biochemistry. We have 20,000 STEM majors online. We now have kids graduating in biochemistry online admitted to the most selective medical schools in the country who weren't able to go to college. They dropped out of high school, whatever. I mean, and so what it's done for us is we found a way to greatly enhance our faculty's ability to have impact on more people. And our faculty learned their lesson about the value of these technologies when they saw the transformation of the kids at the university, the students at the university. They realized that what they thought might have been a student that was a lower level student or less capable student, what they realized was that after time they realized that they were a different learner, a different kind of learner, and like switches went off in their heads. And we had senior, distinguished, unbelievably successful faculty members emotional about what they had thought for all these years, that they thought these kids weren't very smart. And when they realized that they weren't that they were very smart, but they learned in a different way, it was very emotional. We had very emotional things occur on campus when we figured out that what we needed to do was broaden the learning methodologies. So we expanded the number of learner trajectories, majors. We expanded the number of learning tools for students on campus. We enhanced the intelligent agents to help people to be able to learn. We built robots to teach chemistry and biology, virtual reality tools to teach all these kinds of things. And then we said, well, can we also help? You guys may not know this, but there's 40 million people in the United States that went to college and didn't finish. And most of the people that have debt in the United States from college have no degree. Well, that's like a travesty. You can see why people are upset. They ought to be upset. And so we've gone out to as many of them as we possibly can with our faculty, not a toggled on, tagged on faculty, our faculty working with unbelievable instructional designers, building courses and degree programs for people to take from wherever they are. Then we learned another lesson, and Reggie, this one's going to shock you. So it turns out we built a bunch of courses in what we now call the Universal Learner Curriculum, Universal Learner courses, in which people can take these courses. They don't cost anything except to check your identity. You can get a grade in the course. And so this woman writes us a few years ago, and she says, I took 4 courses. I got A+ in all these courses. I live in Afghanistan. I'm not allowed to go to college because it's not allowed in where I live. I can't go to high school. I can't go to junior high school. I'd like to come to your university, and all I've done is these 4 courses. So we looked at her performance in these 4 courses, and we said, well, she's as able as any first-year student that we would ever have. You can see by how she's done in these courses, so we admitted her. We got her a visa, got her into the United States. She then outperformed everyone, crushed them all. Well, we now have 6,000 of her admitted. So our faculty feel unbelievably motivated to reach out to people in what we call digital immersion learning. So we have full immersion, that's you on campus, and a few privileged people get to do that. And you're running one of the great universities in the world with a few people that get access to that. I mean, it's unbelievable for them. We're running a big public university with, more than 10 times as many people on campus. And oh, by the way, we design systems that allow another few 100,000 people to pursue their dreams at no net cost to what goes on campus, because we built this all with the most advanced technology that you can imagine. And so we have found this to be unbelievably inspiring for not all of our faculty. There's some curmudgeons that are here and there from time to time, and we don't make anybody do anything, but nearly all of our faculty, we have almost 5,000 faculty trained in digital learning.
Out of how many?
6,000, because they want to be. They want to be trained.
And it's a different cost structure online versus in person.
Yeah, it's much less expensive, yes. And it's much more able to get through, and you can take it wherever you want. And now we're building, we're building, if there's an AI large language model tool that exists, we got it. And we're using it to build agentic assistance, agent-based intelligent assistance for every student in every subject.
Yeah.
Why? And the reason, just to be clear, the reason is because people learn in different ways.
Yeah. So I think Paul may have mentioned in his opening remarks how perception of higher education has never been lower. You see what's happening around the country. Can you speak to the moment we're in right now, and perhaps is part of it a marketing issue? We're not marketing the important role that we play.
Well, I don't know that it's fair to say that it's never been lower, because it used to be that it didn't exist. Meaning there's been moments in the U.S. where there were very few colleges. Only white males that were related to certain religious groups could go to college. I mean, so I think one has to be careful to say that it's never been lower. I mean, we have a big, complex democracy of 345 million people, 340 million people right now. in which we probably haven't done a good job as a sector throwing 40 million people out with no diploma and debt. 40 million people. Well, wouldn't you be ticked? I would be ticked. So, and then I'll just give you a little sidebar story. So I'm from a working class family. I'm the first person to ever go to college. I have siblings that didn't graduate from high school. My great-grandmother, Lillian Marshall Renfro, was born in West Plains, Missouri in the 1880s. And when I went to college and finished my Ph.D., here's what she said to me. She said, Mike, she had this strong Missouri accent. Well, you got your BS. And we all know what that is. And then you got your MS, and that's just more of that same thing that your BS is. And then you got your Ph.D., which is the same thing piled higher and deeper. So I come from a family, and very smart. She was unbelievably intelligent, but anti-formal education. So we have done a terrible job describing what we do, why we do it, how we do it, and we've become snooty, stuck-up know-it-alls, constantly looking down our nose at the peons of learning and trying to find some kind of way to talk to them. So we've done a really poor job, and we're suffering for that poor job right now. And we need to do a much better job of educating and helping people to think about all the unbelievable things that universities have done for a long time, but particularly in the last 80 years, that have really shaped the outcome of the American economy and the success of the American democracy because of the outcome of many of the things associated with the economy and our social progress.
And certainly one of those things has to do with the important role that research at universities like Arizona State and Rice and many others have had on local economies, on discoveries, on the things that we use in our everyday lives. Yet we're seeing now potential cuts to F&A and other things, reductions in federal funding. Can you speak to that and perhaps whether or not we haven't done a good job getting the message out around the important role of the universities?
Well, not only have we done a terrible job, but it turns out elections have consequences, and the winner gets to make big decisions. So welcome to that. And so you can set aside perhaps some of the language that's being used or some of the harshness that's being used and some of the things. I mean, we have 50 start work orders. We have canceled projects. We have millions of dollars at risk and tens of millions of dollars of impact at our institution and thousands of jobs that are, floating with maybe less certainty than they had before. But having said all of that, so, what we're looking for now is, okay, well, how can we be of greater service? How can we adjust? How can we do more to help the United States to be more successful? How can we get back to a 4% economic growth rate as the base with 5 and 6 and 7 sometimes rather than the 2s and the 3s that we've had? How can we get more people graduating from college? How can we lower the cost of college? How can we help people to be educated throughout the entirety of their life, not just in the 18 to 25-year-old window? And so are we worried about all that stuff? We're worried like there's no tomorrow because it's so much disruption so quickly. Now, what we have to do is make the case, not just to the elected executive, but to everyone else that knows that they're relying on us. I left my iPhone out because everybody thinks that this iPhone 16 is the product of the genius, and he was a genius, of Steve Jobs. Hardly. There were probably, by my estimation, 5,000 academic research groups through the decades that had something to do with the technology I'm holding in my hand. Nobody even knows they exist. Nobody knows the hundreds of patents that are in here and the thousands of articles that back up the patents that are in here. And I'm not just talking about the chips, the billions of transistors that are on the single chip, but the Gorilla Glass that's on the cover here, and the Surface this, and the electronic this, and the battery technology, and all the other kinds of things, and then all the systems and all the applications. There's not one aspect of this iPhone 16 which has not been deeply empowered and enabled by, at one point or another, some academic research activity, some academic technological development, and no one knows any of that. Mr. Musk sits out there with unbelievable technologies to build his Tesla car, an unbelievable technology to launch into space, an unbelievable technology, all of which are derivative of academic activity. And yet everyone thinks that the genius is Musk or the genius is Jobs. They are geniuses at integration and design and organization and so forth and so on. But integration, design, and organization of what? Thousands of discoveries, tens of thousands of discoveries from academia over decades and decades and decades that allow all these technologies to exist. So we're the invisible hand in the way that Adam Smith and other economists 300 years ago, 250 years ago, looked at things, that universities have become invisible. And we've done exactly what Vannevar Bush hoped that we would do in designing Science, the Endless Frontier in 1945, and Neil Lane, who was the head of the Office of Science and Technology Policy, trying to coordinate the U.S. science policy back in the late 90s and early 2000s, you know, was really driving all of this forward, but it got lost in social media. It got lost in history. No one knows what we do, because what we do might be some algorithm for some solution of some chemical equation that allows us to understand some vortices of gases blending and mixing in some topological geometric structure. Nobody knows what that is. Nobody knows what topological geometry is and how that's going to be related to fusion energy systems. Nobody, except us. And we don't know how to talk about it. So we have done unbelievably well and unbelievable things and then lost everybody along the way.
Yeah.
So we have a big problem.
We have. I'm going to open it up to the audience in a minute, but I do want to ask one other question, unrelated but related, because it's part of the university. Obviously, congratulations again on a great season for Arizona State. Intercollegiate athletics has gotten complicated, it's gotten expensive, and it's gotten challenging with NIL and transfer portal. How do you view the role of intercollegiate athletics at a great research university like Arizona State or a place like Rice University?
So I lettered in 4 sports in high school, and I was a Division I athlete in college. I threw the javelin. And so sports are an unbelievably powerful force for human development, for demonstrating human competitiveness, for you know, mind, body, spirit in the old Greek model all the way back to Plato's Academy, you know, of all these things that we're supposed to be. So sports are and have been an integral part of advanced education and even, you know, other education forever. Right now we're living in crazy town. And so, crazy town is, you know, the court is giving us orders that we have to follow relative to the distribution of revenue. With all respect to the court, you know, we already have athletes on scholarship programs that are twice the median wages of most workers in the country, and so the full scholarship is worth, you know, more than most families make in terms of income. And now we've got to contribute more, and we've got to do this, and we've got to do that, and so, you know, we're running a large Big 12 conference program with 25 or 26 varsity sports, and it is unbelievably complicated. We just decided to do something new. All athletes at Arizona State University will receive a full academic scholarship. All.
How many athletes do you have?
650. And so the reason that we're doing that is we want people to know that, you know, we're really in this because we're a college, we're a university. We want our college athletes to be representative of young women and young men at the prime of their development as students, competing in these sports across all these dimensions that we have, and we want to recognize their academic selves in terms of what's called NIL. I don't know how many of you know what that is: name, image, and likeness. Where people raise money outside the university to give money to the athletes in the university. I mean, I go into like cold sweats. You know, I don't know where this all ends up. I don't know how one maintains college sports. And if we just become semi-pro sports, then, like, why are we in that? Yeah. We're colleges with young men and young women competing. The universities graduate, you know, many of the American Olympic athletes and also Olympic athletes from all over the world. And so it is crazy town. That's from that diners, drive-ins, and drives show. I mean, it's crazy town. And so I don't know what we're going to do other than we're just doing our best to protect our student athletes as students, help them to graduate, which almost all of them do these days, to compete at the highest level that we possibly can, to try to deal with all the things that are going on and all the complexities that are going on. And so we're at a moment of very serious design flaws at the moment.
Yeah, and we're all working through it. It's a challenge everywhere, but I like you, believe it's an important part of the campus. It's an important part of building community. It's an important part of the culture.
Totally.
And the student athletes they're just incredible people to be able to balance competing at the highest level.
You guys have hockey?
We don't have hockey. We aren't Houston. Let me remind you where we are.
So
We're in Houston.
we started hockey, and I'm not 100% certain why we did this, but it turns out that a lot of Midwesterners have moved to Phoenix, and a lot of people are there. So now we're in this hockey league, and we got 5,000 people coming to our collegiate hockey games. It is unbelievable.
5,000. That's amazing.
People come up. I was in Mumbai 2 weeks ago. I'm walking over to get to sit down, and then this person comes up to me, and they're wearing an ASU hockey jersey. And they tell me that they're going to Phoenix. The flight was Mumbai to New York, New York to Phoenix. And they're going straight to the hockey game. And I'm like certain that I'm dead and imagining this, or this person is insane. Well, we land, and they said, well, we're off to the hockey game.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, questions for President Crow. Wow, quite a few. I'm going to have to pick my esteemed professor, Moshe Vardi, who probably doesn't need a mic, but we'll give him a mic.
Sorry.
We seem to be, higher education, especially the elite part, trapped in this ranking race.
Yes.
Where we let a has-been magazine dictate the criteria by which we are supposed to optimize our institutions.
Yes.
Isn't it time that we just collectively just drop the stupid exercise and focus on the values that you mentioned, okay? That we figure out what is our true mission, and our true mission is not to rise in ranking.
Well, not only should we do that, but
You know you're preaching to the choir. He's been pleading this for
No, I
for
wanted
years.
to say it loudly to you.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Not only should we do that, but we shouldn't have ourselves in a position where the way that you rank schools, it's the weirdest thing imaginable. I used to be on the board of a little college in Brunswick, Maine called Bowdoin College. And I used to be the deputy provost for many years at Columbia University in New York City. And I was a faculty member there. And so it was how many applications can we get so that we can admit as few of them as possible, and that will make us more valuable in the market. I'm like, that's the most strangest single criteria that you can imagine. Now, Rice is an honors college, a wonderful honors college in the sense that it's an honors university. It recruits only certain kinds of students. We have an honors college also at ASU that's 8,000 undergraduates. But I'm also a big believer that the rankings shouldn't be about that kind of stuff. They should be about what did you do. I'm also a big believer that too many of the colleges and universities are clonal replicants of each other, indistinguishable from each other.
Because they follow the same criteria,
Yes,
all
and
of
so-
them. They
and
have
so-
the same criteria.
So as you know from an earlier discussion that we had, so we did away with 85 academic units, colleges, departments, and schools, formed 40 new academic designs, let our faculty become master designers of their intellectual futures, and for us it changed everything. It literally changed everything. And the rankings are unbelievably British. And I could have sworn that we kind of didn't like that and had this little set of battles and sort of threw those guys away and ended up like them anyway. So, not good.
Thank you.
Right there. Can you speak loud enough to be heard? Or? Yes.
Great. I would like you to go backwards to innovate. This is a book called Robert's Rules of Water, which I know most people in the world don't even know what it is. But Christopher Loss from, I just had demo work done. I sound like a drunk man. But anyhow, this guy is a professor at Vanderbilt University, and he is saying Robert's Rules of Water and why it matters for colleges and universities today. What I would like to know is, are you using Robert's Rules of Water and committees and subcommittees and boards to go about making innovation work, and do people know how to use this document that really, according to him, constructed American universities back in the heyday of their establishment. So my question is, are you using Robert's Rules of Order? Do you see how it can be used?
Well, what I would say is some in certain circumstances and not in other circumstances. So the answer is some. I have studied the evolution of American universities, a lot, and written a few books about it. So I'm familiar with some of the things that you're talking about. So if what you're really arguing for is bringing more order to the process, we absolutely need that. I don't know that necessarily only Robert's Rules of Order brings that order, but it does bring some order in the process. And so the answer is yes, not everywhere, and we need more order to the process by which the universities evolve.
Question right there.
Hi, President Crow. This is Patricia Stepp. I lead the Office of Tech Transfer here at Rice. Thank you so much for coming. I came from SkySong Innovations
Yes.
and then to Rice.
Which is our not-for-profit spin-out enterprise managing all of our intellectual property, right?
Yes. I would love to get your insight kind of on an internal value proposition. How do you see, as research universities are really kind of pushing the boundaries of innovation, how do you see tech transfer translating those breakthrough technologies, not just into startups, but really successful startups? And what support or funding do you feel like is essential to maximize that impact?
So one of the things so the U.S. universities are given, billions of dollars of research funding every year by the United States government. And because we're considered, up to this point anyway, such a privileged class of institutions, the intellectual property is assigned to the university for development to the own benefit of the university and the faculty member. So as you know from your experience at ASU, our faculty members could earn up to 50% of the net revenue on intellectual property. No one in industry except a startup company can do that, and startup companies generally have someone else's intellectual property anyway. And so what's happened is that the government has given to the universities an unbelievable license, which we in general do a poor job of executing. So we don't understand it. We even have people in the faculty that demean patents and demean inventions. We have people not really fully realizing the role that we've been given, and the folks in Washington, sorry for the camera here, but they haven't really caught on to this yet, all the things that we could be doing. And so we need to be doing a much better job of using intellectual property being derived from the universities to stimulate economic activity in the American economic sphere for the benefit of the people that paid for the research. So the people expect the universities to do these things, but we have not been effective. There's a few examples here and there, but not at the level of the energy that's been going into things. And so we need to be doing a lot more. We need to be working a lot more. We need to be working with industry better. We've got all kinds of things going on, lawsuits and all kinds of other things that are going on, including we do also. So it's just something we haven't matured at the level that we could have. I used to be responsible for this when I was at Columbia, and we generated hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars for the university to do new kinds of things, and started hundreds of companies and licensed thousands of technologies. And even we were underperforming what we could have been doing. So, faculty members who don't really even want to patent something, who don't even want to even have their invention recognized because they think it's not as meritorious relative to their promotion or relative to their status in the institution. But of course, the American people want to see these things happen. And so, because they want their money to be valuable to the building of the future. And so we need to do a lot more.
Yes. Barbara?
Yeah. Hey, thank you, and a very nice presentation. So I have two questions, and I live outside of the Rice community. One is collaboration with other universities in your world, because that's certainly a case here in Houston. We've got a lot of different universities. And the second is, how do you collaborate with high schools, the people that send, or the institutions that send you the students?
So collaboration with other universities, of course, goes on in unbelievable scale between faculty members, between research centers, between groups. My own belief is that there's insufficient collaboration between universities at the institutional level. It is extremely difficult individual research groups, individual departments, and so forth don't see any material interest in it because most of them are, and this is, sorry for those of you on the faculty, are more tied to their invisible college of their discipline than they are to their institution. So there's a deeper commitment to the discipline than there is to the institution or to the community. And then faculty are constantly being poached and moving around and so forth and so on. And so what one has to do is to find ways in which these inter-university partnerships can be built and work in certain kinds of ways. We're certainly interested in them. We have dozens and dozens, maybe even scores of these that are in place now, but nothing at the level that I would have imagined. And so I'm going to give you one area. So global climate change, the universities can continue to not work together. They can continue to be operating in isolated little pockets. And then I have this joke, it's not much of a joke, that the glaciers above the ice, above the Ross ice shelf in Antarctica will fall into the ocean and raise sea level by 3 meters before the academic committees can be done with their work. And that's only going to occur in the next 200 years. And so only 2 or 3 of you got that joke. And then relative to K-12, so we have a very large Teachers College and Learning Innovation Institute with thousands of students. We run more than 10 public charter schools with 85% Title I majority minority students, with a 93% 4-year high school graduation rate and a 99.9% 5-year high school graduation rate with a 90% post-secondary. Yeah. So we run those as don't tell us anymore that this can't be done on the thin dime that you get. And then we run a K-12 digital school called ASU Prep Digital. So all these schools are called ASU Prep, and then ASU Prep Digital has about 40,000 K-12 learners that we're working with around the country in terms of educational enhancement using our different tools, and we're growing. During COVID, that was as many as 65,000. And so that's evolving. And then we work with schools on school design, program design. My wife, Sybil Francis is her name, she runs a thing called the Center for the Future of Arizona, where they've looked at shared public values, where more than 70% of the people in Arizona have a shared value. They believe in some outcome. And so and one of those is a pathway to college, and one of those is jobs with dignity. One of those is sustainability, blue skies and clean water and clean air. So all of those have educational components. So we have projects in those areas also. So we have a huge amount going on. So look at ASU Prep Digital, and Center for the Future of Arizona.
Right here. Yes.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Madani, and I happen to be both an ASU alumni.
Hang on just a second. Hey,
They're bringing you the microphone.
Thank you. So thank you so much for this very intriguing discussion. I happen to be an alumni of both institutions, very proud of that. You touched on...
Which one did you enjoy better? I'm just kidding.
So you're a Sun Devil owl.
Yes. Started at ASU, finished most recently at Rice. So what I wanted to ask you about is you touched on being in Mumbai. You touched on the students from Afghanistan. And having been at ASU, I was a bioengineering major, graduated in 2009. I have seen the evolution of ASU. I have seen the number of students that come from international locations to our campus and what they bring. With the current climate and the sort of pushback against any global relationships, especially when it comes down to health and innovation, how do you think we should navigate that value proposition to the public and to the policymakers? Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. So right now we're not seeing any variation whatsoever in importance of the H-1B visa, the student visas for students coming in internationally. This year we have about 17,000 international students on campus from 155 countries. We're not expecting much of a downturn in that at all. There's so much rhetoric out there about undocumented immigrants or immigrants who have criminal records or people that have crossed the border in some kind of way, but all of our students cross the border with visas, and so the entry conditions to the country are so significant. The employability of these students for their OPT after they graduate, working in the country for a couple of years and so forth, is so popular, so important to finding unbelievable talent to drive American companies. So everybody knows that economies, modern economies, to be successful in terms of growth, and if you don't want growth in your economy, I can start telling you what happens to your economy if there's no growth. requires immigration, requires population growth beyond immigration, and requires innovation along the way. So those are three things that have to occur. And so you know, the university's Rice is a big part of that. We're a big part of that. We've got 7,000 students from India now. We're not expecting that to go down, although there are some processing issues and other minor things that are going on. You know, things could change, but as of right now, we're not. The bigger debate on immigration is about illegal immigration, undocumented immigration, not legal immigration. Legal immigration in the United States is a hugely, hugely powerful thing for economic growth and for the further development of the United States.
We'll take one more question. We'll go right there. You've had your hands up for a while.
My name is Bobby Wilkerson. I'm a new delegate for the Baker Institute of Public Policy.
Wait for the mic, Bobby.
And my name is Bobby Wilkerson. I'm a new delegate for the James A. Baker Institute of Public Policy. And thank you for coming. I want to thank you for coming your time. My question is, in the beginning, you talked about certainty and uncertainty. You mentioned uncertainty as one of the themes, one of your lectures. And my question is, the uncertainty in 501c3s, the gap between engineering, science, and benevolence, people giving, doing research for undeveloped countries. Mm-hmm. How do we bridge that gap to get this innovation in there between the universities, undeveloped countries, people, American sentiment in dealing with undeveloped countries, issues like research, for instance?
Right, so ASU, Arizona State University, has USAID projects, or at least we did, in 23 countries as of 2 months ago. We have a very large portfolio of projects. The U.S. Agency for International Development is funding projects all over the world. If I told you about the projects that I visited, one in Egypt, and we've got projects in Ukraine, and we've got projects in El Salvador and other places. The purpose for these projects are all deeply important to the American people. They have to do, for instance, in our El Salvador project, creating economic opportunities so it slows the rate of undocumented immigration. The projects that we have in Egypt are for the stabilization of an unbelievably important ally to Israel and the United States, which signed the peace treaty with Israel decades ago. And so we're working to help build a new university there and make other things happen and so forth. And so, but what's happened along the way is that we, again, have done a very poor job, not necessarily us at ASU, but the U.S. Agency for International Development, explaining to the American people what these projects are for. So we have not, you know, this is literally the case. We have people who, you know, they just think we just need to help these people in some other part of the world. Well, sorry. Why do we need to help them? And I know that sounds cruel, but we need to give the reason why we're trying to help them. Well, sometimes we're trying to help them because they're starving. Sometimes we're trying to help them because they have an AIDS or HIV epidemic of unbelievable scale, which has hugely negative outcomes. But often we are advancing some American interest. For whatever reason in the world that we live in academia, and whatever reason in the world that we live in some of these things, we're unwilling to be proudly American. We're unwilling to say that it is in the interest of the United States to do this project. It is in the interest of the future of the United States to spread American values. And the more that one hasn't done that, the less support then has evolved for these kinds of projects. And so I don't agree with the way that these projects are being cut off. I don't agree with the way that these things are being handled. I do understand why people are upset. And so what we need to do is we need to figure out how to do a better job of articulating where our money is going in projects all over the world. There's a very good example of what you talked about. So my own area of academic research is the design of knowledge enterprises. So I travel all over the world looking at how research organizations are organized, looking at how universities are built, looking how companies and the private sector and the public sector advance on fundamental discoveries. And so I did a lot of field research in Korea and Japan and other places, but in Korea specifically, all of the core research institutions that have helped build the Korean economy were all funded initially in the 1960s by the US Agency for International Development, which greatly accelerated the emergence of Korea as a superpower regional economy of unbelievable capability. New universities, new institutes, new things, all these kinds of things, new ways of producing engineers, new ways of producing scientists, new ways of producing their economy. Nobody knows this stuff. Nobody knows how these things are connected together. And so, but that was done because the United States wanted Korea to be successful. Wanted the Korean War, at the end of the Korean War in 1952, when the armistice was signed, 53, Korea was in abject poverty of unbelievable scale. And now they're one of the leading economies on the planet. And we worked to help that economy to evolve through things like the US Agency for International Development or its precursors.
So let me take this opportunity to close us out. It's coming up on the hour. I want to thank, of course, President Crow for sharing your experience and wisdom with us. I want to thank my good friend Neil Lane, who I know organized this and brought you here. And Neil has been just a great friend to Rice University and a great American citizen that's done so much for the U.S. I had Neil come and talk to the deans over lunch last week during a period of time where there's a lot of uncertainty. And there's nothing like Neil Lane reassuring a bunch of deans that we're going to be okay. We're going to get through this, and the higher education will come out of this stronger. And we really appreciate all that you've done, Neil. And again, Michael, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Reggie.